All right, welcome to another edition of 10-Minute Misconduct, where we look back at the last week in Leafs land, take a look at some highs, some lows of the week, and maybe looking ahead at what to expect for the following week. So the Leafs last week, they went to Vegas, defeated a good Vegas team, thanks to Jack Campbell, strong performance by him. Then they headed over to Arizona and lost to the worst team in the league. Sorry, Montreal, that I'm going to save that phrase for them. I think they are the worst team, thanks to a great goaltending performance by Vejmelka. Never heard of him before. Probably never hear from him again. That's what happens when you're the Leafs. And then on Saturday, it was a goal fest in St. Louis. The Leafs were trailing, then they were up, trailing, and then they finally came back in the third and ended up pulling out a victory. Probably Jack Campbell's, not that he was bad, just he looked kind of out of position a couple times, wasn't his strongest performance, and they still managed to pull through in that one. So any observations from these past three games, that anything you noticed, something that's positive, something that's negative, anything that you want to bring to our attention?
Yeah, two things for me. Again, this is not sounding negative because there's no perfect team. They're playing great. They're playing well. They're playing well. Their last, so many games have been good, but there's always going to be something that you want to kind of bring to the attention. And obviously two things that stand out to me is one is their defensive play. No idea what they're doing in the defensive zone, how you get two guys caught behind the net and you got a guy out in front of the net, just thank you very much. Puck squirts out. It's a goal. It's that same pairing of Hall and Muzzin that are just making me lose my hair every game I watch them. And it's this cannot go on. And I talked about in my last minute of play on our podcast, how a defenseman like Rasmus Sandin and the season that he's having so far, minus the injury, gets sat because of cap constraints. And he had to be out of the lineup just because of his contract situation to watch that debacle of that pairing of Hall and Muzzin. He picked his own goalie. Did you guys not see that? He ran interference on his own. He boxed out Mrazek. It's a joke now. So again, that's more the negative side of it. They really got to cut down on what they're doing defensively. They're running around again. They're not playing that tight zone box that they had a lot of success with. The one constant's been their penalty kill. That's been fantastic. The different combinations they've had in that kill, the aggressive kill they've had was great. On the positive side, Ilya Mikheyev, my boy, 5 goals in 6 games. I told you he's lying in the weeds, but he's just coming around. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to keep him, but that's a type of guy like him and Kasha on the third line going into the last stretch of the season, into the playoffs. Maybe that's where we're going to start, that you get that Tampa Bay rub of that third line that they had some of that scoring from. I know they were more of a gritty line, but that's the type of thing you're going to hope for, to get some three line deep scoring in the playoffs. Once they get there, that's really going to be a big thing. So having that line together with Kampf is just, it's something we've looked for in the last couple of years. So I'm actually pretty happy to see that.
Yeah, I'm here for the Mikheyev. Instead of shooting 2% like last year, he's shooting 24%. I'm sure that'll keep up. 1 out of every 4 shots is going in.
Hey, man.
Thank you, Jordan Binnington. What a goalie, Love.
Could happen to a better guy.
What a bad win, though. That's just the anti-playoff game where it's you win a game 6-5, and that's never going to happen come playoff time.
No.
What I'd ask you guys, I have a few questions here. First of all, we're now into the middle of January. Are you guys over last year's playoff loss? Is that
No, I'm not. No. And I'll tell you why.
Still.
No.
Because we're at the halfway mark of the regular season. Mm-hmm. There's only one Canadian team currently in a playoff spot, and that's the Leafs. I know you could look at points percentage. Calgary might be in. But that just goes to show you that, yes, in fact, the Canadian division did suck last year, and the Leafs blew a huge opportunity, because now they're back to the Atlantic Death Gauntlet, and the Eastern Conference Armageddon division or conference. Like
Yeah.
it's
much better conference. The balance of power has shifted from the West to the East substantially.
well, the Western Conference, you've got Colorado, who's really good. Vegas is a good team. Minnesota's pretty good.
Okay.
St. Louis is pretty good. But like then you go to the East, and any one of the 1 to 8 teams I could see coming out of the East.
It's scary.
I don't know about Florida still.
Shooting the lights out. Best offensive team in the league.
I know. I find that they kind of falter.
Anyways, go ahead. You said, am I over last year's playoffs? So I answered the question, and then you were going to go to something else.
I have a couple other things. The power play. I noticed that Nylander was playing on the wing, and JT was in the bumper. Do you guys like that power play more than when Marner is in that Nylander spot? Because I like JT not being in front of the net. I think he's too good. Like he's too skilled to be a front of the net power play guy.
So what I do notice is that they're moving a lot more on the power play. There's a lot more player movement. They're not stagnant where each guy has their position and you don't move from that position. You can't be like Tampa and Washington because you need to make your power play suit the guys that you have. So they're moving guys around a lot. If you notice the Matthews goal that tied it, that was on the power play. They had Marner behind the net. So I think that's an interesting spot where they can get him the puck and he can create some cool plays from back there. Interesting to note that when plays are set up by the net, I'll shout out to Ian Tulloch for throwing this out there in his article. Plays that are set up from behind the net, their shooting percentage, expected shooting percentage almost doubles. So I don't know if that's because defensemen have their back turned, like they're facing the guy behind the net and their back is turned towards the players behind them or what, but a lot of that, and Gretzky, the best player ever, that was his office right behind the net. A lot of plays were set up back there. So I think there's just a lot more player movement and guys are moving around a lot. So you will see Mitch in that half wall bumper spot, but you'll see him in other spots too. And I like that they're doing that.
I like teams that, and I try to not influence this, but try to tell players that I coach. Whenever you play below the goal line, first of all, you're 200 feet away from your net, so any mistakes back there are not going to kill you. Second of all, it's very uncomfortable having played defense my whole life. When guys are back there, you can't just chase because they're going to use the net as a shield, and it's very hard to defend because you don't know you have to turn and you don't know what's going on behind you. So if the Leafs can do different things, and I said this last year, they should have used the regular season as time to get ready for the playoffs, try things, see what works, see what doesn't, throw some, what against the wall and see what sticks. If they're doing different things, and I did notice the movement, they didn't look as stagnant. And I think when they get really stagnant, they're easy to defend and not very dynamic, and they do have talent. So I think that's a good thing. So would you say that they're getting close to playoff ready, or are they playoff ready? Are you guys more hopeful? Because I think this is the year that they get it done. I think finally they win a playoff round. I think last year's heartbreak, teams kind of bounce back from that.
Still early for me.
When you have that girl and she breaks up with you and breaks your heart, and you keep taking her back, and she said that things are going to change, but then she keeps breaking your heart, and it's just like, unless you prove that you're going to change, I'm not letting you. I'm not falling for that.
Dallas Cowboys, we got them back.
I don't know, Joe.
That's how I feel with this team.
I didn't know girls like that.
He never got the second chance.
Rob, one thing, going back to your power play, one thing I've noticed, they're a lot more successful when Nylander touches the puck a lot on a power play. And the only reason why I say that is because he's having another fantastic year, and he is a viable threat when he's got that puck in close from the sideboards, top of the circle. That opens up the box essentially, because a very underrated aspect of his game is passing the puck. And he's made some fantastic passes down low, backdoor to Tavares. And he's actually been the one for me that's improved that power play, because he's been that option that maybe wasn't there as much last year because everything was driven through Mitch. So now there's a lot more times now where when the puck is on with Nylander, they're allowing other guys to move around in the zone, and hence Joel with that Marner play behind the net. Like Nylander is for me is the guy that's really driving the different options for that. So I'm happy to see that. And Morgan Rielly actually took a slap shot last game, so that's one. So there's one from the point. But yeah, that just wanted to add that.
I'd say Nylander's been their second best forward.
And yet no
all-star. At this moment, yeah, at this moment, I think he's their second best forward.
No, it's fair.
It's fair. Matthews.
Yeah, it's fair.
I think my other concern for the Leafs, and I wonder what I'm really interested to hear you guys' thoughts. I said that Campbell can't play. He's not a 60 game guy, and I think they need a lot more games from. I'm blanking on the bag right now, but from Mrazek. Are you guys worried about Campbell's workload right now? Because I don't think he's a horse. I think he's a really good goalie, and I think if he can play 45, 50 games, get him into the playoffs rested and ready, because I don't see him as a 60 game. Are you guys, are these points just too important? They're in the playoffs. Like there's a substantial gap between 4 and 5, I believe, in the Atlantic Division. So it's not like they're fighting for a playoff spot. It's now just seeding. It's positioning.
I think you'll see Mrazek get a lot more games.
I hope so.
Here.
I hope so. If you guys remember,
I think it'll be like a 2-3. You'll see Campbell start 2, and then Mrazek will start the 3rd type thing. So if there's 3 games in a week, Mrazek's getting one of the 3, which is not bad.
And I'll tell you why, because with all the postponements, and we have no idea what February is going to look like, there's probably going to be a lot of back-to-backs. There could be a lot of 3 and 4 nights. And you're right. If you guys have noticed Campbell as well, to me, he's starting to look a little fatigued. And that's just from the quality of chances that teams are getting now, where he has to extend his leg a little more, and that little kick, little toe save and going post to post. That wasn't really there as much during the first part of the year. The last few games, it's been there. And that tires the goalie out. They've been doing their best with their maintenance and the practice days and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, because we just don't know what February and March is going to look like, they're going to have to lean on Mrazek. And I'll tell you another thing. If you guys are watching the Marlies, there's a goalie down there named Eric Kalgren, where they actually got from Arizona. I believe, or he's a draft pick of Arizona this year. Him and Joseph Wall finally have given them something that they can rely on. So there's Mrazek's going to be your post deadline, obviously, but I'm starting to finally get kind of encouraged by what's coming up in the pipeline. I only say that because it's possible that we could see them come up as well, like they were doing with Hutchinson and Wall through the year. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 3 goalies play some time in the coming months as well.
All right, cool.
I'm not too worried about Jack. He had one bad game. I thought against the Avalanche, he was really, really good. I thought against the Knights, he was really good. This past game was a tough one for him against the Blues. But you know what? His save percentage, it was bound to regress. He's not going to have like a 940 something the whole season. It's going to regress. He'll be fine. They're going to get him his rest. He's played a lot of games, but in the last month, he has not played a lot of games. Like his starts have been so spread out, right? And at the moment, I'm not worried. I'm very confident in him, to be honest.
I can answer Frank's question of, have you been watching the Marlies? No, I have not. So
no, I didn't expect you to. I said, if you have been watching the Marlies, right, or the highlights of it, or the stats of it. How's that, Rob?
I have not. There we go.
Unless you're watching the minor Pee Wee Marlies or something, but their upcoming schedule.
Yeah, now that might see a few times.
Their upcoming schedule now takes them into MSG and the Island before coming back home to face the Ducks. So you got 2 more. At least the Rangers are a decent team, but always a hard place to play going into Long Island. Now they have a decent schedule coming up, but it's the Shesterkin game. So let's see how they do against the Rangers coming up on Wednesday, because they're the top of the Atlantic right now. So that's, again, another measuring stick game. And let's see how they do before coming back home against the Ducks.
Do Do you guys think that Shesterkin is getting the Lundqvist treatment where like they count the shots in warm up too as in-game shots? Or
I don't know. Every game that I've watched him play against the Leafs, he's been excellent.
Yeah.
no, just
So that he probably is getting that treatment for sure.
Lundqvist is excellent too, but when they dump the puck in, he gets a shot on net back in the day. So
Yeah,
that's why his save percentage was outrageous.
I actually think the Rangers should be a little bit better, to be honest. When you look at the players that they have on their roster,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you look at their underlying metrics, they're a team that usually is outshot, outchanced against other good teams. But Shesterkin has been the difference. And goalie's part of the team, so that's fair. But I think they're a little bit overrated, but they should be better. Like I think they should be a top team.
Paco's having another like a kind of subpar. He's not turning out to what they have like a backup too behind Shesterkin that's really good too. I believe.
Yep.
Georgiev.
Yeah.
Georgiev
He could be on the move. So.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, hopefully we can get to do the live. We can watch a Leaf game live.
Yes.
And,
sure.
Yes. We were going to mention
we'll
that.
break it down.
So keep your eye out for that on Instagram and such. So we might be doing live game viewing, and that's going to be interesting. That's definitely going to be interesting.
That'd be fun. That'd be a lot.
Oh
of fun.
yeah, I right off the top of the head, and some of those comments. Can't wait for those. All right, boys. Catch you on the next one.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.